topic of the day is familiarity and readability. This multiplier is going to contribute greatly to how much attention you get, as well as to how much action you get. Your conversion rates. All right, you get what I mean. I'd say roughly 50-50. Okay, so ultimately, here's the deal. A lot of indie developers, the common advice is niche down. Make a really niche game. Be super, super targeted. Appeal to a really specific demographic and just hone in on that. But usually people take it too far. And it's a trap that kills a ridiculous number of games. A lot of games that people make, they're too niche. Quite simply, they're too niche. They're too obscure. They're using unfamiliar mechanics because people are trying to reinvent the wheel in the most random ways, the most unnecessary ways. And what you end up with is a game that, it's really ironic because the advice is don't try to make a game that appeals to everybody, because then you'll end up making a game that appeals to nobody. So instead, people say make a game that's super, super niche, and then people niche down so far that they're still making a game that appeals to nobody. So ultimately, yes, games should be unique, but they should not be unique to the point of being foreign, okay? You have to retain familiar base concepts for people to just understand them and even have a chance of becoming interested. If you're making like a third-person 2D point-and-click rhythm shooter, like that doesn't make sense. I can't picture that. I can't listen to your elevator pitch and understand and envision why that's interesting. I'm just sitting there trying to think of what even, how does that, it's just confusing. And then I go, I don't care. I'm just going to go and play Fortnite. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to go play something simpler. This is just weird. So if you want to make a lot of money in games, you can't be niching down so far. You have to be appealing to a moderately broad audience, using concepts that are fairly broadly appealing. Again, you're not trying to rip off Call of Duty. Don't do that. That'd be stupid. But you're trying to pick up the crumbs that AAA and AA are dropping, because there are significant openings in the market that are not big enough for AAA and AA to take advantage of, but that are still widely appealing enough to make a lot of money. And those are the kind of things that indie developers have access to. Anytime that a game is being shared online, any like moderately short form media sites, if we're talking about like TikTok, YouTube Shorts, as well as stuff like Twitter, Reddit, things like that, which are typically short form media, screenshots, clips, things like that. Your target audience needs to understand what's going on in as short a time as possible. If people can't recognize the base mechanics and they can't start to put themselves in the shoes of the player and say like, oh, this is what it feels like to play the game, then it's just not going to work. People, basically confusion and explaining what your game is as instantaneously as possible. That's like your biggest hurdle when it comes to short form media promotion, which is massive, right? Short form media is huge. So, ideally people should be able to look at a screenshot of your game just about in like any part. They should be able to look at a screenshot and understand the basics. They should be able to watch a 3-second clip and basically understand the entire basis of the game. So the core gameplay, the core goal that players are achieving should be very obvious, so blatant. And that doesn't mean that you can't add more depth on top of that. In most cases you should, but the core gameplay should be very interesting and very readable, visually readable. You should be able to look at it and know what it is. First way to do this is just by making use of just common standard practice gaming mechanics that everybody understands. For example, like if you just simply stick to first person or third person games, then you'll automatically appeal to the widest demographic when it comes to like modern gamers. Any derivative and supporting features that you have should be understandable. Implement them in a way that people can easily compare it to their existing knowledge base around gaming, around the, what other games are doing, and keep derivative features derivative. Don't try and reinvent stuff and be all big brain and creative on this stuff. Like a lot of this stuff, you just keep it simple. The core mechanics of Minecraft are mining any block and placing any block anywhere. Okay? In 3 seconds, you can show a video of somebody mining away a block here and placing it over there. And immediately, it's readable, right? You can see exactly what's going on. And it immediately demonstrates player agency, and immediately people start thinking, okay, how could I use this in an interesting way? What interesting things could I create? What interesting things could I dig? Like maybe I could dig a little underground base, and then I could use those blocks to build like an above ground fortress, right? People immediately start imagining what they could do with those core features, right? So on a base level, Minecraft is incredibly readable, okay? And the mechanics are familiar enough, right? It's just first person. It's not doing anything goofy and wacky with everything. It's like, okay, keep it simple. But again, that base level of mine stuff, build stuff, there's more depth beyond that, but it is all kind of in support of that simplistic core feature. So, yes, there's crafting, which is really big in the game, obviously. And there's enemies and there's bosses and all that kind of stuff. But it's all in support of that readable, clear, obvious, visual base mechanic. Basically, in summary, like your core mechanics, the core goal or mechanic that people are using to have interesting and engaging gameplay, it needs to be simple. It needs to be readable. It needs to be easily communicated, either verbally or visually, ideally visually, but also it should be explainable verbally through text. That does not mean that you cannot have additional features. You probably should, but they should be in support of and built on top of that core foundation. That's it.